Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, a fascinating take on the serial killer novel, Letters to the Purple Satin Killer by Joshua Chaplinsky. So this is a book I kind of feel like I have a weird relationship with. Joshua Chaplinsky emailed me about it like a few months ago before it came out and offered me a copy of it, and I was like super busy at the time and I said, sorry, I'm going to have to pass. And then when the book was released, I kept on hearing people talk about it and talk about it like very glowingly, and it sounded really interesting. The more I heard people talk about it, the more I wanted to read it. So I contacted him again and he very kindly sent me a digital copy to read. And I really, really enjoyed it. This is a very, very interesting book. And it's one of those books that whilst I was reading it, I was thinking, I need to do a full review video of this book. I definitely need to review it. I read it, I think, in July. But then, like, things got in the way. Other books came up that I definitely needed to review for various reasons, and I never got round to filming that review video. But the book has really stuck with me over the 6 weeks or so since I read it. I've kept on thinking about it. And so today I've decided to sit down and do that review because I definitely think it's a book that is worth talking about. So it's a serial killer novel, but it's a serial killer novel unlike any I've ever read before. For two reasons, really. One is the format of it. So it is structured, as the title suggests, as a series of letters. And the second thing is that the killer, the Purple Satin Killer of the title, never actually appears in the book. He's just not there at all. He's completely absent. And that makes it really, really fascinating and very different from a lot of serial killer fiction and movies. We tend to be, I think, as a culture, you know, really obsessed with serial killers, and they can get glorified to an extent. And I think often that glorification comes from putting them on screen, putting them on the page. So a book that deliberately avoids doing that, I think, is very interesting. So it's structured, as I say, as a series of letters to this killer who has been caught and is in prison. And in the first part of the book, he's awaiting his trial, and then, you know, things progress with the legal system thereafter, shall we say. So he's in prison and he receives letters from a bunch of different people. You never get a reply from him to any of these letters. And some of the people that write to him only write to him, you know, like once or twice. And some of them write consistently, you know, throughout the book. So it's laid out chronologically. So you will get, you know, you might get a letter from someone and then not hear from them for, you know, 100 pages and then get another letter from them. So a variety of different people are writing to them. But as I say, you never see a response from him. And sometimes where there is someone who has written more than one letter, you'll get a reference to a response he has sent them. So you know that he is communicating back, but you never hear his words. You know, you never actually interact with him as a character directly. It's always mediated through other people. So that was very, very interesting. And the thing that I think Joshua Chaplinsky has done really well is chosen the people who are going to write these letters. And it makes for a really fascinating read, because particularly for the people who you get multiple letters from, you get to know them as people over the months, and I'm not sure if it's months or years the book takes place over, but definitely months. Over the months that the book takes place over, you really get to know these people through their letters. You get to see into their lives. And, you know, clearly they are, the common thing they all have is a connection in some way, either an actual like familial connection or, you know, some other kind of connection to the Purple Satin Killer. But apart from that, they are, you know, they're all separate people, albeit some of their stories do overlap a bit as the book progresses. So yeah, he's chosen really, really interesting people as the characters to write these letters. So you get the mother of the killer, who is, you know, initially, you know, can't believe her son is guilty, and also is, you know, constantly obsessing over details of his childhood. So you get her, and through her you get to hear a lot about his father as well, who never actually writes a letter himself. You get someone who believes they may have been a victim of his, albeit one who escaped. You get a guy who went to school with him, who was friends with him at school, who talks a bit about their childhood. You get a cop who is involved in the investigation and capture of him. You get a crime writer who's fairly obviously based on the crime writer James Ellroy, who wants to, you know, interact with the killer and write a book about him. You get relatives of the victims. So there's a real variety of different people here. And as I say, sometimes their stories overlap and they kind of interact with each other. And when that happens, it's particularly interesting because you're getting the same series of events told from two different perspectives. So it all comes together in a very, very interesting way. And it's presented, as if it's true. It's presented as if these are the real letters written to a real killer, which is not the case. But it shines an interesting light, I think, on our obsession with true crime and with serial killers in particular. And there are, as you would expect, a couple of the people who are writing to him are, basically women who write to men in prison. Who are, wanting to build relationships with them, which is one of those things I've always found absolutely fascinating as a concept. The fact that there are, people who enjoy and get personal reward from, emotional reward from, interacting with people who have done or have been accused of doing horrific things. And you don't get a huge amount of detail about the killer's crimes. You get some, you kind of get an overall body count figure, and you do get like glimpses of some of the crime, but you never get like crime scene reports. You never see real detail about the crimes he's committed, but you get enough to know that he was a very, very brutal killer. So yeah, it's an absolutely fascinating book. I definitely recommend it. I think it is doing quite well for Joshua Chaplinsky. I think I saw on his social media that it's in some big bookstore chain in the States now. It's published by Clash Books. And yeah, it's just fantastically well done. I love the cover as well. I think the cover is absolutely fantastic. I'll flash it up again so you can appreciate it. So yeah, it just hangs together much better than I expected it to. It's a book that when you start reading it, you kind of worry that maybe the gimmick of it being letters will wear thin after a while. But the fact that you get these continuing characters and their lives, and the fact their lives intertwine with each other, makes it really interesting. So yeah, definitely recommend it if you are someone who's interested in kind of fiction about serial killers and want to try something a bit different. So I hope you found that interesting today. Let me know if you read Letters to the Purple Satin Killer and what you thought of it. And as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.